From the moment we're born, we're told how the world works. We're given a script. Life is made of solid things. Time moves forward, and what you see is what you get. This version of reality, concrete, linear, and separated into neat categories, is so deeply ingrained that most of us never stop to question it. But what if the foundation of everything you believe about life is only a tiny sliver of what's actually true? What if the world you wake up to every day is not as fixed or predictable as it seems, but more like a dream you forgot you were shaping? This isn't just a poetic musing. At the frontier of both ancient wisdom and modern quantum physics, there lies a bold assertion. Reality is not objective. It's responsive, it's alive, and most importantly, it's shaped by you. Let that settle for a moment. You are not a passive observer in a lifeless universe. You are an active participant, more accurately, a co-creator, dancing in a sea of infinite potential. The quantum field is not out there somewhere, distant and sterile. It is here, now, flowing through and around everything you touch, think, feel, and imagine. It is not something reserved for scientists or mystics. It's the essence of your very breath, the space between your thoughts and the silence behind your heartbeat. But to grasp it, you must first release the grip of the old story. The one that told you that life happens to you. Because that story has one tragic consequence. It keeps you small. It convinces you to chase things externally, money, approval, love, while quietly believing you are separate from the source of those things. It teaches you to look at life as something to conquer, survive, or manipulate, rather than something to harmonize with, express through, and expand within. So what is the quantum field really? Imagine a vast, invisible ocean of energy, vibrating with all possibilities. Every version of you, every timeline, every dream not yet manifested already exists within this field. Not as fantasy, but as dormant potential. And your consciousness, your thoughts, feelings, expectations, and intentions are like stones dropped into that ocean, rippling across time and space. But it's not the thinking alone that moves reality. It's the alignment. It's the vibration you hold beneath the words, beneath the masks, beneath the performance. That's what the field listens to. That's where the true shaping happens. You may have already experienced moments when reality seemed to bend. Serendipities, unexplainable coincidences, a feeling that something was guiding you. Those aren't accidents. They are invitations, clues, gentle nudges from the field, reminding you of your power. Now ask yourself, where in your life are you still acting like a victim of circumstances, rather than a partner in creation? Where have you unconsciously handed your power to the external world, believing that once it changes, then you'll feel peace, safety, or joy? The truth is more radical and more liberating. The outer world does not come first. The quantum field reflects who you are being, not just what you are wanting. Your life is not being written by fate, it is being written by frequency. And once you begin to see the illusion for what it is, that old belief in a cold, lifeless universe, you start to awaken. You begin to remember that what you are is not limited to your past, your job title, your relationship status, or even your thoughts. You are awareness itself. You are possibility wrapped in flesh. And from this space of remembering, something magical begins. Your inner world becomes the canvas from which your outer world is drawn. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about waking up to the truth of who you've always been. So take a breath. Feel into the stillness beneath your racing mind. That space, that's where the quantum field meets you. That's where life starts bending not to your demands, but to your resonance. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. Not the kind that reflects your physical face, but one that reveals the quality of your thoughts, the tone of your emotions, the depth of your belief systems. Now, imagine that mirror isn't confined to your bedroom wall. It's everywhere. It's reality itself. That's the nature of the quantum field. It does not judge, correct, or withhold. It simply reflects. Whatever signal you emit, whether born of love or fear, is what it mirrors back. Not out of morality or punishment, but through resonance. You vibrate, it vibrates back. And this is where things get both thrilling and humbling. Your life circumstances are not random, they are feedback. To some, this might sound confronting. Are you saying I attracted pain, failure, heartbreak? But this is not about blame. It's about awareness. The field doesn't punish, it simply amplifies what is already vibrating within you. If you've been holding unconscious beliefs like, I'm unworthy, nothing ever works out for me, or I need to struggle to be loved, those become the tuning forks for your experience. You see, thoughts alone are not enough to shift reality. It's not about repeating affirmations while secretly drowning in doubt. The field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your state of being. This is why two people can say the same sentence, I am abundant, but receive vastly different outcomes. One person says it while feeling empowered, expansive, connected to life itself. The other says it from a place of scarcity, hoping the words will compensate for the lack they feel. The field can feel the difference. In that way, the quantum field is less like a genie and more like a tuning fork. It vibrates in harmony with you, and to harmonize with what you desire, you must become it. This is not about pretending. It's about embodiment. If you want to attract love, you must first become a sanctuary for it within yourself. If you want to experience abundance, you must learn to feel abundant, even when your bank account is low. If you want peace, your inner dialogue must become gentle, not violent. Real change begins not when the external shifts, but when your internal atmosphere becomes so coherent, so aligned, that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to carry an unexplainable magnetism? It's not their words, it's not their actions, it's their frequency. They've stopped arguing with life, they've stepped into alignment, and reality bends around them effortlessly. This is what happens when you begin to relate to the field, not as an object to manipulate, but as a living presence to partner with. Now here's a question worth sitting with. What would change in your life if you truly believed the universe was listening, not to your complaints or your desires, but to your emotional truth? You might stop begging and start aligning. You might stop controlling and start trusting. You might realize that the most important work you can do is to become emotionally honest with yourself. Because nothing changes until your inner world does. And when it does, everything does. Let's take an everyday example. Imagine someone who constantly worries about not having enough. They may affirm abundance, read every self-help book, and work long hours. But beneath it all, there's a subtle vibration of fear, of clutching, of lack. That fear is louder than any mantra. The field responds accordingly, not because it's cruel, but because it's precise. And here's the beautiful reversal. The moment that person lets go, softens their grip, and begins to feel gratitude for what is, truly feel it in their body and their breath, something shifts. A small opening appears. And through that opening, new possibilities begin to flood in. This is not fantasy. This is energetic cause and effect. The quantum field doesn't care what you say you want. It listens to what you are. It responds not to longing, but to living. And the more coherent your inner state becomes, when your beliefs, emotions, and visions are in sync, the faster the field responds. Sometimes with synchronicities, sometimes with people, sometimes with breathtaking, life-altering opportunities that seem to come from nowhere. But they're not from nowhere. They're from the field. They're from the version of you who already exists within it, and who is finally being given a green light to show up. So take another breath. Tune inward. What are you actually broadcasting? Is your energy aligned with the life you say you want? Or are you sending mixed signals, half-rooted in fear and half-dreaming of joy? Remember, the quantum field is not distant. It's right here, breathing with you, listening beyond words, and it's waiting, not for you to be perfect, but for you to be authentic. That's when the mirror starts to shimmer. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your life as a painting. Not the one you hang in your living room, but the one that reveals your deepest emotions, your silent beliefs, your energetic posture toward existence. It's not painted with brushes or colors, it's made from frequencies. From every sigh of frustration, every whisper of gratitude, every quiet conviction you carry, consciously or not. This painting is not static. It evolves with every choice you make in consciousness. And the quantum field, it reads this painting. It responds to it with uncanny precision, not because it's judging your life, but because it cannot help but match you at your level of energy. That's why frequency is not just a spiritual buzzword, it is the blueprint of your reality. In the quantum field, there are infinite versions of you. The one who is joyful, the one who is heartbroken, the one who feels stuck, the one who is free. You don't reach these versions by striving or forcing. You shift into them by vibrating at the same emotional and mental frequency they live in. That means the life you most desire is not far away. It's already real, already coded into the field. You're not trying to create it from scratch. You're learning how to match it. This is where traditional manifesting often falls short. We are taught to ask, to visualize, to script and plan. And while those techniques are helpful, they can't override your core frequency. Because if you're asking for love while radiating abandonment, or hoping for success while vibrating with unworthiness, the field will continue to reflect what you feel, not what you request. It's like tuning a radio. If your favorite song is playing on 98.7 FM, but you're set to 92.3, it doesn't matter how badly you want to hear it. You're simply not on the right frequency. The song exists, the broadcast is live, but you won't receive it until you tune in. This brings us to the most empowering question of all. What frequency are you living in right now? Are you walking through life with an open heart, a quiet trust that life is for you? Or are you bracing yourself, expecting disappointment, moving through the world with an energy of "prove it to me"? Energy doesn't lie. The quantum field doesn't need your resume. It reads the truth of your vibration in the now. This is why embodiment matters more than affirmation. You can say, "I am abundant," 1,000 times. But if you're tightening your chest every time you spend $1, the field picks up on the tightening, not the words. That tightening is your frequency. Here's the twist most people miss. Frequency is not about constant positivity. It's about coherence. You don't have to be happy all the time, but you do need to be real. An honest, grounded person radiating acceptance, even through sadness, emits a clearer signal than someone pretending to be fine while hiding a storm inside. The field responds to the harmony within you. When your thoughts, emotions, and body are aligned, you become magnetic, not through effort, but through essence. You've probably felt this before. Maybe you were in a moment of deep peace, not striving, not needing, just present. And suddenly, something you had been chasing arrived effortlessly. A call, a breakthrough, a solution. That's not a fluke, that's resonance. That's the field reflecting your coherence. Your frequency can't be faked. It can only be felt. So how do you raise your frequency? Not in theory, but in practice. It begins with awareness. Start noticing the energy behind your actions. Are you reaching out from fear or love? Are you working from desperation or inspiration? Are your decisions aligned with your highest self, or are they motivated by old wounds trying to stay safe? This isn't about shame, it's about clarity. Because when you see clearly, you can shift naturally. Maybe you pause before reacting. Maybe you forgive yourself instead of spiraling. Maybe you choose stillness over noise. Each time you make these subtle inner shifts, your frequency begins to change. And as it does, your life, the painting, starts to transform in ways that feel miraculous, but are entirely logical within the framework of quantum intelligence. You begin to live not by circumstance, but by alignment. That's the power of frequency. It doesn't just describe your state, it creates your state. And from that state, your reality unfolds. detail by detail, relationship by relationship, moment by moment. So ask yourself now, if your energy were a message, what would it be saying to the quantum field? Not just today, but habitually? Is it whispering, "I am ready"? Or is it guarded, saying, "I don't trust this yet"? Because here's the truth most never realize. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It's simply waiting for you to become the version of you who is ready to receive. By now, you may be feeling a deeper awareness of your own power, this idea that your energy shapes your world. But perhaps, too, there's a quiet frustration rising beneath the inspiration. A voice that says, "If it's really that simple, why can't I feel it? Why can't I hold the frequency I want?" And that's where we must go next, into the invisible static that distorts our signal to the field. Because no matter how pure your intentions or how beautiful your vision board may be, if you're carrying unconscious resistance, old trauma, or inherited beliefs that say, "I'm not enough, I don't belong," or "life is always a fight," then those frequencies operate like noise over a song. They interfere, they cloud, they confuse. The quantum field doesn't discriminate between what you consciously want and what you unconsciously believe. It simply mirrors the strongest frequency. So what happens when you want love, but a part of you fears abandonment? When you desire abundance, but deep down you feel unworthy of ease? Those hidden parts become the default frequency, and they do so silently until life begins reflecting them back. This is why healing is not a side task on the spiritual path. It is the path. Healing is not fixing something broken. It's remembering who you are beneath the noise. Every unprocessed wound, every suppressed emotion, every limiting belief acts like static on your channel. And until that static is felt, seen, and transmuted, you'll keep sending mixed signals to the field. You may have already experienced this tug of war. One part of you visualizing your dream life, while another part keeps expecting the other shoe to drop. One part believes in miracles, while another quietly prepares for betrayal. That inner conflict is what the quantum field hears. But here's the gift. Awareness heals. Compassion alchemizes. And the field does not require perfection. It only requires presence. To heal the inner static, you must slow down enough to actually hear it. This might mean noticing where you tense up in your body when you imagine success. It might mean tracing back the voice that says you're too much to a childhood moment that taught you to shrink. It might mean grieving an identity you've outgrown, or forgiving a version of yourself that didn't know better. These inner movements are not emotional indulgences. They are energetic cleanups. Every time you hold space for your inner pain without judgment, you reclaim the power it was guarding. Because behind every fear is a part of you that once learned to survive. And behind every survival pattern is a longing to feel safe, loved, and seen. When you tend to these fragments with care, your signal becomes clearer. Your energy begins to harmonize not just with what you want, but with who you truly are. Let's use a simple metaphor. Imagine your consciousness is a guitar. If some strings are out of tune, tight with old tension or slack from neglect, then no matter how beautiful the song, it will come out distorted. Healing is the act of retuning those strings. It's not glamorous, it's often messy, but it's sacred. Because every release, every forgiveness, every breath into a formerly numb space is you realigning with the version of you who can finally receive what the field has always been trying to give. So now ask yourself, what pain have I been avoiding, thinking it's safer to keep it buried? Because the field hears that too, not to punish, but to prompt. And it will keep sending you mirrors until you look. But there's a deep comfort in this. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't even have to know how. You simply have to become curious, gentle, willing. Start with one breath, one moment of honesty, one space where you say, yes, this still hurts, without needing to hide or rush. And in that moment of emotional truth, something beautiful happens. The field feels your coherence. Your inner child feels seen. Your nervous system relaxes, and the frequency begins to rise, not through force, but through intimacy with yourself. There is no faster way to shift your vibration than to stop abandoning your own heart. The more honestly you feel what's real, the less energy you waste pretending. And the less you pretend, the more power you reclaim. The field doesn't need your perfection. It needs your presence. Because in presence, there is clarity. In clarity, there is alignment. And in alignment, there is manifestation. Not as magic, but as the natural reflection of your healed, coherent self. So take a breath. Let the tears fall if they need to. You're not broken, you're remembering. And the more you remember, the more life will remember you too. Now that you've peeled back the layers, seen the illusion of control, heard the silent signals you've been sending, and maybe even begun tuning the deeper chords of your being, the question arises: what does life look like when you live from this place? What happens when you stop trying to manipulate the universe and instead become a conductor of its infinite intelligence? To live as a conductor is not to dominate the field, it's to collaborate with it. It's to understand that you are not here to beg the universe for blessings or bribe it with hard work. You are here to attune to the version of reality that matches your most authentic frequency. Think of it like music. The symphony of life is always playing. You don't control the orchestra. You become an instrument that resonates so clearly, so powerfully, that the music begins to shift around you. This isn't passive. It's not spiritual bypassing. It's one of the most courageous things you'll ever do. To surrender the illusion of control and instead cultivate alignment so fierce, so honest, that the field cannot help but respond. You begin to feel it. Less striving, more allowing. Less proving, more being. Less gripping, more trusting. And yes, trusting the field feels terrifying at first, because for so long we were trained to believe that control is safety, that if we let go, things will fall apart. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control, the more resistance you create. The tighter you grip, the more the field reflects fear, not flow. True power, then, is not control. It's clarity. And clarity comes from coherence, from alignment, from living a life that's honest, not necessarily comfortable, but real. You may begin to notice subtle shifts. People respond to you differently. Synchronicities increase. You feel less tired, even though you're doing more. That's not luck. That's what happens when your energy is no longer leaking into fear, self-doubt, or emotional pretense. You become a match for magic, not the fantasy kind, but the deeply aligned kind. You begin to speak less from ego and more from intuition. You move not from urgency, but from knowing. And perhaps most profoundly, you stop needing external validation because your alignment itself becomes your reward. Ask yourself now, what would it look like if I trusted the field completely? Would you leave the relationship that dims your light? Would you finally take the step your soul has whispered for years? Would you stop chasing what others told you success looks like and start living what feels true? This is where quantum meets the practical. Because manifesting is not about waiting for life to change. It's about becoming the change so completely, so consistently, that life has no option but to reflect it. You walk differently, speak differently, decide differently. Not because you're pretending to be someone new, but because you've remembered who you always were. And the more you live like this, the more effortless manifestation becomes. Not because you're manipulating reality, but because you finally stopped resisting your own resonance. There's no secret trick, no 7-step plan, just this. Still your mind, feel what's real, heal what hurts, choose alignment over approval. Trust the intelligence that's been breathing you this whole time. Because the truth is, the field is not outside of you. You are it. You are the wave and the particle, the thought and the form, the dream and the dreamer. When you live from this remembrance, your very presence becomes a signal. You walk into rooms and change the atmosphere, not because you're loud, but because your energy is pure. You speak fewer words, but they land more deeply. You stop chasing timelines because you trust divine timing. And perhaps most importantly, you stop asking, when will it happen? Instead, you begin to ask, how can I align even more today? Because you know now, the more true you are, the more life becomes inevitable. So pause here, breathe, and ask yourself, what would it mean for me to live in such deep trust, such unapologetic alignment, that my only job was to hold the frequency of my highest self, regardless of what's happening outside me? The answer to that question? That's where your next reality is born. You've just journeyed through the layers of reality, not as a theory, but as an invitation. An invitation to see that the life you seek isn't waiting for some distant future. It's already encoded in the field, responding moment by moment to the vibration you carry within. The quantum field doesn't require perfection. It asks for presence. It doesn't reward effort. It reflects essence. So let this be your quiet revolution, not to fix yourself, but to remember yourself. To align your life not with fear, but with frequency. Not with striving, but with sincerity. And as you do, you'll find yourself manifesting with less effort and more grace. You'll begin living not as a seeker of miracles, but as the miracle itself. Now ask yourself one last question. Where in my life am I still playing small, even though I know I was meant to co-create with infinity? When you're ready, drop the script. Tune in, trust, and watch what unfolds. If this spoke to something inside you, I invite you to leave a comment below. What part resonated most? And if you'd like to walk deeper into this journey together, make sure to subscribe. The field is listening, so speak with your frequency.